making it easier for rural towns and communities to compete for new manufacturing sites. Hello, welcome to Action News Now. I'm Josh Krupp. That is the goal of new bipartisan legislation introduced in Congress. Senators backing the efforts say there are a lot of communities out there that want to attract these new manufacturing facilities, but they just can't simply because either plots of attractive land aren't developed or the infrastructure just isn't there. Joining us now for this digital exclusive, Republican U.S. Senator J.D. Vance. Hello, Senator. Tell us what you are trying to do to address this with this legislation.
Yeah, so I've teamed up with Tom Cotton from Arkansas and Mark Kelly from Arizona to introduce this legislation that is really going to make it easier, I think, for Ohio to compete and win some good manufacturing projects in the future. If you sort of step back and think about this from the perspective of a manufacturer, they can go to Pennsylvania maybe where there are a lot of sites ready to build on immediately, or they could go to Ohio where maybe we don't have as many sites that are ready to build on. This just gives communities some resources to actually create those shovel-ready build sites so that Ohio can compete and win. I think we have huge advantages in our state. I think we've got the best workers. We've got great natural resources. We've got a great state government, led, of course, by Governor DeWine. But we sometimes have places where people would like to build. The sites just aren't ready to be built upon yet. And so we're going to try to solve that problem and I think help Ohio workers in the process.
How much of a problem is this right now, and where do you think that you have heard about this being a problem the most?
You know, I've heard about it most in our rural communities, though I actually talked to the mayor of Youngstown, I believe, yesterday, who said that the lack of shovel-ready projects was in some cases something that made it harder for the Warren area to win and compete. And so I think it's pretty much an issue all across our state, though certainly it's a lot of our rural areas where, of course, the infrastructure isn't quite as good as in our big cities. And maybe you have a lot of open space, a lot of space that would be nice to put a factory, but they're just not ready to build on yet because of the infrastructure. So I think it's most acutely a problem there, but it's really a problem all across the state of Ohio, from Youngstown to Cleveland and all the way down to Cincinnati.
And you'll hear from some people in rural communities when a big project is coming to town that they don't want that site in their backyard. They don't want to disturb what they already have there. What would you say to those concerns?
Well, look, I think these communities have every right to say we want this thing in our community or we don't want this thing in our community. I think I've certainly heard that. I've certainly heard from rural folks who do not want a massive factory moving in next door. I've also heard from folks that would love the job opportunities and the economic development. I think for those who want those opportunities, the resources should be available for them to attract those projects instead of losing out to another state or another area. So I think it's fundamentally a good thing. We're not forcing anything on anybody. We're just giving people the resources to prepare their communities to build upon if that's what they want.
And you have a little bipartisan support here. Well, what are the chances you think of this actually reaching the finish line?
Yeah, Tom Cotton and Mark Kelly are both multi-term senators who know how to get things done. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to team up with them. I think we're in a pretty good place to see this either as a standalone piece of legislation or getting attached to something else down the road. It's a pretty common sense thing. The one of the few truly bipartisan issues I've noticed in this town, Josh, is that everybody wants to win the long-term battle against China. You can't do that unless you really support American manufacturing. Now, we might disagree with our Democratic counterparts about exactly how to do that, but on this issue, making sure we have shovel-ready sites to build upon, there's pretty broad agreement, so I don't think we'll have too many issues here.
Okay, Senator J.D. Vance, thank you very much. That concludes this digital exclusive here on Action News Now. Head to our website and our streaming apps to get caught up to speed on everything happening around town this week. For 13 Action News, I'm John.